Hello and welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling, the podcasting empire, right here, part of the TMPT feed. I am, of course, the one-man power trip that runs the two-man power trip. I am your host, JP John Paz. Here on the show, we're talking about another great topic, another top 10, another best of, if you will. We're talking today about a guy we don't really talk too much about on the show, and various episodes really not talked about him too much really at all. We're talking about some great history, some great matches, and kind of the era that he was in, and maybe him himself didn't really lend himself to a lot of greatness per se. But today we're definitely going to be talking about the top 10 matches and break it down of John Cena, the man they call the GOAT, the never seen 17. He's won every title in WWE. Obviously he was on top of the WWE mountain for over 20 years. So he is a legend in this business, but maybe not correctly put on the pedestal, if you will. Maybe he's not put in the right spot, if you will. So basically, to say Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, those guys are Mount Rushmore guys for sure. There's no doubt about it. I would put Ric Flair on mine as well, just throwing that out there. But as far as WWE is concerned, John Cena wouldn't make it on there. I mean, you got to look at guys like Bruno and guys of that ilk. I just don't think he ever made it to that level, that ascension. Yes, as far as some top guys nowadays, there's no doubt about it. Huge name and a huge draw. But if you really just look at it from an honest point of view, was he ever as big of a draw as, let's say, a Brock Lesnar, who I know some people lately were kind of questioning if he was to still draw or not, and obviously he proved them wrong at the last Survivor Series, meaning that when Brock Lesnar was added to the card, Cena was already on the card, so when he was already added to the card, saw a significant boost in tickets, and obviously Roman Reigns played a part in that as well. So that's another thing as well with Cena, which is really interesting, and we will get to the best, and we will talk about that, and there's no doubt about it, he's an all-time great, he's a legend, but I just don't think he's at that top tier with a guy like Hulk Hogan or a guy like The Rock or a guy like Stone Cold Steve Austin. A lot of people today put him in that category, maybe unjustly or incorrectly. He just never ascended to that level. Yes, super famous, super popular. Yes, he's getting into movies. Yes, he's mainstream. He's becoming more and more popular as each day goes on. And obviously, as we head towards his retirement, becoming a bit of a draw that he might have not really ever been before, so to speak. When you're looking at guys that were bigger draws than him, and yes, this is a fact. This is not me, put any shade on Cena or anything, but Roman Reigns eclipsed him. He became a bigger draw. And obviously, that was a boom period for the WWF. You could say they're cooling off now, but they're still making more money than they ever made before. They just broke a record at SummerSlam, just broke a record at Survivor Series on the back of a guy like Roman Reigns, who was leading the charge in that huge boom period. And another guy who was leading the charge and kind of QB1, if you will, carrying the ball, Cody Rhodes, who was a huge draw and obviously a bigger draw than Cena. And we're just being factual here. He is. And then another guy you want to throw out there that's just as big of a draw in the wrestling business as Cena, and that is his arch nemesis, guy we'll talk about a few times on this top 10 list, CM Punk, who is a big draw. And even go back to when CM Punk was champion, 2012, 2013, 2011, you're talking about that era there. Cena and Punk were on opposite house shows, and Punk's house shows were technically supposed to be the B shows, and they were outdrawing the A shows. So it kind of goes to show you maybe Cena not really as big of a draw as you think when you think about him and you think about his biggest draws. And we'll mention, of course, a couple honorable mentions here. But when you think about his biggest draws and some of the biggest houses he ever had, they were against The Rock, and The Rock was the big draw at WrestleMania 28 and 29. So that's kind of like an interesting thing, too. And really, when he was WrestleMania 22 and 23 against Triple H and Shawn Michaels back to back when he main evented those shows, that was kind of like you didn't even know if he was the main event of the show or not. Maybe 22 more so, yeah. But 23, the main event was supposed to be, and even leading up to that day was supposed to be Batista Undertaker because Undertaker won the Royal Rumble. So we didn't even know that Cena was the main event. Obviously, Donald Trump was the big draw of that WrestleMania as well. So it's an interesting case study with him just not being the draw that people kind of thought he was and being the absolute mega star. Even when you look at ratings, the TV ratings and stuff, there have been times when they've had Hogan and Flair on, obviously much older in their career. They'd be on one week drawing millions, and then they'd have Cena on the next week, and you'd say, oh, that he did it great, and it would be less than the Hogan Flair episode. So it's just one of those things where he was never necessarily a huge draw, whether it was ratings, TV, whatever. But unmatched, maybe minus Stone Cold and Hogan, the NWO, and guys like that. But unmatched with him for many years would be merch. and there's no doubt about it, top merch seller, was a huge merch seller. That's basically the reason why they didn't turn him heel all those years, even though he got booed by half the crowd. So merch played a huge role in kind of keeping the babyface and really kind of helped the WWE for a while, too, if you look at it, because they were a little bit of down period. You could say it's the PG era and that Vince's booking hurt them, but obviously with him on top, that didn't necessarily help. And they kind of lost a ton of fans during that era as well. So he's an interesting case study. No doubt about it, legend. No doubt about it, icon. No doubt about a huge name. But one of those things where huge draw, perhaps not. Mount Rushmore, perhaps not. GOAT, definitely not. So let's talk about John Cena. And let's get into the top 10 matches of his career. When you're looking at big match John and you're looking at his run, we're going to mention some honorable mentions first. Got to talk about the CM Punk match he had at the Night of Champions in 2012. Great match there. And you're going to see Punk quite a few times, not only on the honorable mention list, but also on the top 10 list itself. So Punk is definitely one of those guys. Maybe we could do a separate episode about the great opponents of Cena, like his best guys that he was in there with, not necessarily just great matches, which we're going to focus on here, but some of his great opponents, like a guy he had great chemistry, like no doubt about it. Even this year, I didn't put it on the honorable mention list, but you can't even mention Night of Champions this year, 2025, Punk and Cena. Great match. It just shows you the chemistry that those two guys still have together all these years later. So Punk may be his best as far as chemistry. Maybe another guy that I'll be talking about on this list quite a few times as well. Maybe AJ Styles could be as well. But got to mention Night of Champions. You could throw out there 2025 as an honorable mention, but Night of Champions 2012, they had that double pin, which kind of led into a three-way with Ryback the next month or so. And that was kind of an interesting way of building up Punk and the title run and him not losing the WWE World title, which he held for 434 days. But this was a great match and a double pin. It just kind of showed the chemistry there, keeping Cena strong, obviously keeping Punk as champion, which was the goal there. So also another honorable mention I would like to throw out there would be CM Punk versus John Cena, SummerSlam 2011. Yes, there was a lot going on there, a lot of craziness after the match and maybe Stick the Winner and Alberto Del Rio and everything, Triple H and everything else going on surrounding that, but can't take away from the match itself with Punk beating Cena yet again there at SummerSlam 2011. They're really kind of using Cena at that point to help push guys for a while. We saw Super Cena many years before where basically he didn't lose to anybody, killing off guys like Umaga and Wade Barrett and different guys of that ilk and that sort who could have done with some big victories and kind of done with some big pushes and see what they could have done. But Punk in 2011, it's when we saw a different side of Cena where he started putting a lot of guys over. So that's definitely got to talk about that. Even maybe throw out there an honorable mention that I didn't have on my list here would be Dominic Mysterio this year at Survivor Series, another guy that Cena put over big time. And obviously Dominic Mysterio in San Diego wins the Intercontinental Championship from John Cena on his way out. So that's a good one. Hat tip to Cena for putting these guys over for sure. And obviously Punk, SummerSlam 2011, throw on that list as well. Guy I mentioned before, as far as some honorable mentions, I wasn't necessarily fans of either one of these matches, but it is one of those icon versus icon type matches, one of those big WrestleMania type matches, one of those matches that look good on the poster, brother. Definitely the biggest guy of this era versus biggest guy of the era before, although Rock was still pretty much at his prime at this point. Got to talk about two honorable mentions, WrestleMania 28 and WrestleMania 29 versus The Rock, and of course versus The Rock again in the rematch. Cena loses the first one to The Rock and then gets his win back on the second one, kind of cements his legacy there in the WWE. Next up, I got to talk about back-to-back Money in the Banks for Cena. Money in the Bank 2015 versus Kevin Owens, which was quite a good match. And him and Owens at the Elimination Chamber, and they seem to have some pretty good chemistry together as well. But I got to say, above all, I like their Money in the Bank 2015 match. Owens and Cena kind of tore the house down that night. They did very, very well, surprised a lot of people, and really kind of put Owens in that, next stratosphere, really kind of put Owens over in that show. And then a year later, Money in the Bank 2016, which starts off, to me, John Cena's greatest feud, although kind of maybe surprisingly lost out on the microphone, which you can't say much about Cena and his feuds, but against AJ Styles. So maybe it surprised him because he wasn't really known as a guy that was really strong on the mic. So maybe AJ surprised him, or, quite honestly, maybe it was just booked that way for AJ to be stronger on the mic. But the match was unbelievable. Great match. And we'll see more of AJ, by the way, later in this list, quite a few times, actually, later in this list. So AJ versus Cena, Money in the Bank 2016. AJ, surprisingly, big win there, too. Then, of course, throwing out there the I Quit match, Judgment Day 2005 versus JBL. Got to mention that as well. Also, One Night Stand versus Rob Van Dam. If Cena wins, we riot. Well, Cena lost. RVD beat Cena that night, One Night Stand. And a guy we'll be talking about in about 2 seconds here on the list, and that is Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid, and the WrestleMania 23 main event. That made my honorable mention list. So let's get to the list itself. Let's talk about the top 10 best John Cena matches of all time. Of course, these are all subjective, and you can make your choice be heard, if you will, or your picks be heard here, either in the comments or DM me or message me. You could follow me and message me on Twitter and Instagram at 2manpowertrip. If you want to write me something on Patreon, go to patreon.com/TMPT Empire and check that out. And maybe, just leave a comment here right on YouTube and let me know what you think are the top 10 John Cena best matches. What did I hit on? What did I miss on? What are truly the top 10? So here we go. Number 10, Royal Rumble 2015. Was there live for this one. This was quite a great match. Obviously a controversial show, to say the least, in Philadelphia that night, but this was a really good match here. One of Cena's best, really one of everybody's best here when you kind of just look at the landscape and just look who's in this match and how it was. But it is, of course, Brock Lesnar defending his WWE Championship versus John Cena versus Seth freaking Rollins there back in 2015. Lesnar going over strong. Great match from these three in this triple threat match. Next up, of course, is a guy I mentioned earlier, and I even kind of alluded to this match earlier, and it's a part of John Cena's current run. I know some people are high in it, some people are not high in it. I got to give him credit. Credit where's credit's due. I think he's done a great job in ring. It started off pretty bad as far as you could tell in the Rumble. He was a little slow. Elimination Chamber, he definitely was being carried by the other guys in the ring. He started to look a little better. WrestleMania against Cody Rhodes, he just looked awful. He just looked like he didn't have it. I don't know what was going on there. Maybe he's just trying to figure stuff out. Maybe he just wasn't in shape yet. He's just not sure about that. But then all of a sudden, like I mentioned with the CM Punk, a guy like Randy Orton, who he had a long, long feud for in a bunch of great matches. Well, I wouldn't say great, but he had some good matches with. I'll say the Backlash match this year was great, although it doesn't make the list or the honorable mentions. I would definitely check that out. That's when he started to get his footing and started getting everything together. And then I mentioned like the Punk match, even the R-Truth match was entertaining. He started really, really getting it together after WrestleMania this year in this run. And maybe people didn't like the heel run. Maybe he himself didn't like the heel run, but that's just the way it goes. And it's one of those things where, yes, maybe it didn't work out the way it did, but it kind of ended really, really well as far as the heel run. But we'll get into that. And his in-ring stuff has been pretty good, especially after turning back babyface. And this is one of the matches. Crown Jewel 2025 in Perth versus AJ Styles. Cena gets the win. This match was great. Go out of your way to watch this one. This was fantastic. This is crazy because AJ is going to make this list, just hint, hint, 2 more times after this, and he was already on the honorable mention list. So he kind of, to me, head and shoulders, maybe the best chemistry guy for John Cena for sure. Now, just a spoiler alert here, the Randy Orton match won't make this list, like I mentioned, but none of the Randy Orton matches would Cena make the list. I don't know. I know they had a long feud, and they basically had every gimmick match under the sun. They wrestled a million times. Just no matches really stood out to me as being great. Maybe if you want to say the Backlash match from 2025 was his best, possibly so, and the crowd was awesome. For that one. Another guy that won't make this list, just a spoiler alert here, and I know people might be upset because they love this feud, and I did not like any of the matches. I used to laugh when Mean Gene Okerlund called it one of the greatest feuds of all time, obviously scripted to say it that way, but Cena versus Edge, just never enjoyed their matches, never enjoyed their chemistry, so that will not make the list. I know that will make some people not happy, but that feud and those matches will not make this list. The next up on this list, number 8, CM Punk versus John Cena yet again. And we're going to see Punk again, but this is the Money in the Bank 2011 match. 5 stars from Dave Meltzer. A critically acclaimed match. There's no doubt about it. This is a great one. Maybe the greatest crowd reaction for a Cena Punk match. Maybe. We'll talk about them again later, but hint, hint there. But this was a really, really good one. So 2011 Money, a 5-star match. I didn't think this was their best. And I know other people will disagree, and other people will say that it was, and it definitely was. But I got to say, there's one match, which we'll talk about later, that I actually thought was better between these two. But this was a fantastic match, well deserving of the 5 stars. Next up, we got AJ Styles yet again, continuing in John Cena's greatest feud and just a great series of matches. SummerSlam 2016, maybe again, surprisingly so, AJ gets the win. So what they did in the Kevin Owens feud the year before Owens wins the first match and Cena won the next two, what they did here, which was pretty interesting, is for their singles matches, AJ Styles wins the first two, and then Cena wins the last one. So they kind of changed it up, made it different, and they kind of were booking Cena a little bit differently, but they really put over AJ very, very strong here. And AJ goes over here. So SummerSlam 2016, great match here. Great chemistry again from Cena and AJ Styles. Guy mentioned here for match number 6 on the top 10, Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid, April of 2007, Monday Night Raw. This was after their great WrestleMania match, which I mentioned, part of WrestleMania 23, which was on my honorable mention list. This I got to put up there. This was awesome. I even thought this match was better. Michaels maybe shockingly goes over. Maybe that surprised people, but that was a great match with a great finish. Goes pretty long too, if you remember. Goes a lot longer than the WrestleMania match. They were clicking on all cylinders here. So I always enjoyed this match. I always thought it was great. And I got to throw it as number 6 in the top 10. Again here, talking about this year, 2025. And I kind of maybe was thinking about making this match number 1 on my list. This is how impressed I was with this match. And like I said, the WrestleMania match sucked. But this match, and the finish was absolutely terrible with Travis Scott, but that's a different story for a different day. But this match here, this is the complete opposite. Obviously, another 5-star match. Crowd is unbelievable for it. Just really excellent stuff here. Awesome match. Love Lesnar coming out as a surprise at the finish. But of course, we're talking about SummerSlam 2025. Cody Rhodes defeats John Cena to retain his WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Great match. This, I had to give a big hat tip to Cena on, just because he didn't have to go this hard. You know what I mean? He's retiring. He's hanging him up. He's 48 years old. He's about to retire. He didn't really have to do it, but he did, and he really made Cody look super strong in this match. Excellent, excellent match. Go out of your way if you haven't seen it. But again, another match, a part of this Cena retirement tour that made the top 10 list. So he really is finishing with a bang. He's really finishing quite strong. And, if he's going to retire, this is the way to do it. Really, really great match here versus Cody Rhodes from SummerSlam 2025. Next up was my favorite John Cena match for quite a long time. And of course, we're talking about Royal Rumble 2007, Last Man Standing, his crazy match versus Umaga, who possibly maybe could have gotten the win. They had a good match at the New Year's Revolution pay-per-view a few weeks earlier, and this one even topped that. This is a great match. This was one of my favorite Cena matches for a long time, but Umaga takes the L here. Cena goes over and gets the win. I was kind of hoping, though, when you travel back in time and you think about it, I was kind of hoping Umaga would get the win. It kind of pissed me off, but Cena goes over. Super Cena, very, very strong at this point, but definitely check out this match. Great match. Royal Rumble 2007, Cena versus Umaga. Let's go back to 2013, when we're going to go to 2013 again, too. So a little spoiler alert there, but John Cena versus Daniel Bryan, Triple H as the special guest referee, SummerSlam 2013. This is a barn burner. This is a great one. You could say maybe Bryan was carrying him a bit, but Cena definitely held his own. He is a very carryable wrestler, that's for sure. Daniel Bryan, one of the all-time best, no doubt about it. This match I would definitely highly recommend, as Daniel Bryan defeats John Cena at SummerSlam 2013 for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Doesn't hold it for long because Triple H turns heel. Randy Orton comes out and cashes in, but great match as it was standing. Just absolutely love it. Kind of didn't like maybe that Cena had the excuse of the elbow injury. I feel like maybe it could have been even cleaner, but this was a pretty clean win for Daniel Bryan and a great match. Great job by Cena here putting over Daniel Bryan. Next up, we're going to 2013 again, 2/25/13 to be exact, February that month. The winner will face The Rock for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 29. John Cena versus CM Punk. They go almost 30 minutes. This was a great one. They were even breaking out some pile drivers in this one, which was a illegal and banned maneuver at that point. But this is great. This is my favorite Cena Punk match. This is, I think, the best match between them. Even though it didn't get 5 stars, it definitely should have in my book. Just absolutely love this one. This one is a great one and a barn burner. So check this out. Obviously, John Cena goes over and defeats CM Punk in this match in almost 30 minutes. And then he became the #1 contender to face The Rock for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 29, which we talked about earlier in the honorable mentions. Here we go. Number one on the list, number one with a bullet. My favorite John Cena match. I think his best match. I think the top John Cena match. I think it's easily 5 stars. It is John Cena versus AJ Styles Royal Rumble 2017 to finish the trilogy. There is, as I mentioned, AJ wins Money in the Bank, AJ wins SummerSlam, and loses here at the Royal Rumble to finish the trilogy. Awesome match. I think the best match that they had together. AJ's on this list 3 times and was on the honorable mention list. I mean, and they even had a good triple threat match with Jon Moxley, aka Dean Ambrose, involved. They had a good 6-man involved with the club, if you will, the Bullet Club, with Anderson Gallows versus Cena, Enzo Amore, and Big Cass. So they had a bunch of matches together and a bunch of great chemistry. This, though, I think was the best and definitely my favorite. So Royal Rumble 2017, John Cena finally breaks off and beats the demon. That is AJ Styles, who had a huge winning streak against him. He finally beat him in a one-on-one match. So John Cena defeated AJ Styles at Royal Rumble 2017. There you go. There you have it. The John Cena top 10. What did you think? What did I hit on? What did I miss on? What are the John Cena top 10 best matches? Did I, maybe miss some matches as well? So don't forget to hit me up about that. So let's wrap up this bad boy and head towards the plugs. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at 2Man Power Trip. Check out the website, patreon.com/TMPT Empire, and go to TeePublic, teepublic.com/store/TMPT, and get your Hogan era gear today. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. We will see you right back here next time for the 2-Man Power Trip. Have a good one, folks.